Well, hello friends, and welcome to Ask the Rev Wednesdays. My name is Marshall Brown. I'm a senior pastor at Grace Presbyterian. The question I want to answer this week actually is something that I anticipate some of you will be asking after our congregational meeting this coming Sunday. We're having a congregational meeting via Zoom. The link will be going out in the email on Friday as well as an email on Sunday morning. But a Zoom link, I should say, for a congregational meeting 11:30 this Sunday. And the primary point of business of that congregational meeting is to elect as an associate pastor Nick Swan. Nick has been an assistant pastor, and he will be becoming an associate pastor. And understand what that means, and I'm going to talk a little bit about it on Sunday, but I want to talk about it more fully here. You have to understand the Presbyterian form of government, okay? Now, you think about the founding of churches, and there are different names of different denominations. The Baptist denomination, that is named after their view of the sacrament. The Lutheran denomination, that is named after their view of their founder and their theology, Lutheran theology. The Roman Catholic Church is named after their headquarters in Rome, and Catholic means universal. Episcopal Church is actually about their form of government, and the same is true for Presbyterians. The word presbyter in Greek means elder, and to be a Presbyterian church is to be an elder-led church. So let me kind of contrast some different forms of government and then talk in a little more detail about a Presbyterian form of government. And I've got my whiteboard here. I hope you can see this. But over here is an Episcopal form of government. The primary denominations where you see this are Episcopalian or Anglican, depending on where you are, and Catholic. And here's the principle. It's a top-down. It's almost like a flow chart of an organization. Not a flow chart, but a org chart, I should say, where you have the Pope or the Archbishop at the top. And under the Pope or the Archbishop are multiple bishops, a lot more than are represented here. And then from local bishops, you have local churches. Each of these churches represents a different circle. Each circle represents a different church. And then the P there is the priest or the pastor of the local church. But all the authority goes to the top. It's a vertical or authority structure, as it were. And so that's Episcopal or a Roman Catholic. Obviously, you have examples of those all around. Then a congregational model of church. And each of these circles represents a different church, and the key here is that they are not formally connected. There may be alliances, there may be sympathies between churches, but there's no formal connection to other churches. Local churches that are like this, Willow Creek, Winnetka Bible, are both congregational churches. And how it's governed differs from church to church. Sometimes it's the pastor who is the sole leader. Sometimes it's a group of elders or a group of deacons or some mix, some board of trustees. But the point is that it's its own entity. That local church is totally on its own and is not formally connected. There's no formal relationship to other churches. Now then we get to ours, and I'm representing ours, the Presbyterian form of government, in terms of concentric circles, okay? I will start at the national level, and I'll move down. So the national level, we are overseen, as it were, by the General Assembly, which is all the Presbyterian churches in America in the country. Now the next level down is the local level. We are part of what is called the Chicago Metro Presbytery. And so within this is this circle. I should have put CMP, but there's a bunch of churches in this circle, all in the Chicago metro area, and we are connected to one another. That's actually where my membership stands, where Nick's membership stands. They're involved in our life. There's mutual accountability and support and encouragement that happen at the presbytery level. But then the local church and the circles are the local churches again. The local church is led by a plurality of elders. I'll establish that in just a second, why that's important, but a plurality of elders. In our case, these are, I don't know if you can see this, but that says TE, which means teaching elder, which is what I am. A pastor in our parlance is called a teaching elder. And then ruling elders are lay people who have been elected by the whole congregation, ruling elders. And so when we're together, we're in session. Elders are in session. And so the authority is when we're together as a session of elders, okay? So that's more or less the three kind of forms of church government, three basic forms of church government. Now, the reason that we believe that this is the best model, and I think there's actually biblical arguments that can be made for the other models, but I do think that this is the best, the one I believe, and but I hold it loosely. I want to be clear about that. But a couple things I want to point out. The precedent, Acts chapter 15, in the early church, there was controversies about what new Christians should have to do, and they got together, a plurality of elders came to Jerusalem and made a decision. They actually issued a proclamation, and it was disseminated. And so there was a plurality making a decision. That was actually, some people call it, Presbyterians call it the First General Assembly. But then when you see Paul going out all over the Mediterranean, what is he doing? The main thing he's doing is teaching, and then secondly, establishing elders in each local church, because he's getting the church started, but then he's moving on, and he's leaving behind a group of elders. It's never just one person in each locality, so the plurality of elders. Places like 1 Timothy 3 talk about the qualifications for those elders, but the point being is that there's a plurality of elders. It's not just one person who's ruling, and that's very important to the Presbyterian form of government. Real quickly on deacons, I'll just say, deacons are those who come alongside. You can see in Acts chapter 6, they're the ones who come alongside elders to allow elders to do their job. Now, all of these elders, including myself, at our church have been elected on by the whole congregation. But when we hired Nick 14 months ago, for several reasons, he was hired as an assistant pastor, which means just the elders voted on him. You have not voted on Nick. And so for Nick to become an associate pastor, which means that he can sit in this group, and he actually sits in this group now, but he does not have a vote. But when he becomes an associate pastor, he'll be able to vote. And so the principle is that you get a vote on everybody who is making these decisions. So that's kind of how an assistant pastor is called by the session. The associate pastor is called by the whole church. And that's what we'll be doing starting this Sunday and electing Nick Swan, Lord willing, to be our associate pastor. He's done such a great job. I'll talk about that more on Sunday. Thanks, and that's Ask the Rev Wednesday.